To this lesson. Today we're looking at video games. Yeah, so this is in Unit 5. The topic is science, and the topic, the focus of this lesson is video games. Okay, and we can see that we've got a quiz that we need to do. So the first thing to do is to head over to the quiz on Schoology, which should be enabled, and for you to do that, you need to play the audio and then try to decide what the bold-faced words mean. So affects. Does it mean influence or does it mean help? Okay, and we've got a multiple choice question here. Yeah, so we can listen to somebody using these bold-faced words in context, and then we just need to decide, is it A or is it B, A or B, and so on. And this is very important vocabulary that we need before we even start listening. Okay, so this is called blocking vocabulary, and we need to better understand this because it will help us a great deal when we come to watch the lecture. And before our next lesson, well, okay, this is the next lesson, but think about these questions. Typically, who plays computer games? What do you think are some advantages? What do you think are some disadvantages? You don't need to reply, but you can write. You can take some notes. You can use Google. Maybe spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes actually finding out what are the characteristics of people who normally play computer games. What are some advantages? What are some disadvantages? Okay, so you can use your own ideas, and you can also use Google to help you better inform those ideas. Okay, so do that. Then when you've done that, please come back here, and we will look at the skills work for today. Right, okay, well, the skills work today is identifying points of view. Okay, so what somebody thinks, yeah? And here we've got some language that states an opinion, that supports that opinion, okay, so the reason and the evidence, and the other side of the issue. And we've got some examples. Many critics say something, this is because, yeah, and however. So some fairly standard, fairly common, fairly familiar, hopefully, discourse language here for stating an opinion, for supporting that opinion, and for giving the other side of that opinion. What I'd like you to do is think of some different language, some additional language that we can use to state our opinion, to support our opinion, okay, so to provide reasons or evidence, and then discourse language that we can use to introduce the other side of the issue. Okay, so pause this video, have a think. You can write your answers in your booklet. You can, of course, post your answers on the comments to this video, which would be quite nice. So you can write the answers in your booklet, and if you want, you can post as a comment down below. I like seeing your comments on these videos. Pause this video, come back, and we'll talk together. Okay, so some people think that other language experts, have I got, there we go. Experts are of the opinion that, some people think, some people believe, yeah. This is because, why is this? The reason for this is, or this can be due to, But, however, on the other hand, yes, which I'm sure you all wrote down, the flip side is that, Okay, so some examples, some of my examples of additional discourse markers that we can use to state an opinion, support our opinion, and introduce the other side. Useful language, not just, of course, when we're listening, but useful language, of course, when we are when we're writing, but of course when we're speaking. If we're trying to argue with someone, this is useful language in that situation as well. Okay, listen to the part of a lecture on video games. What points does the speaker mention? What points of view does the speaker mention? Okay, so does he state his opinion? Does he support his opinion, and does he give the other side? And we can try to fill in these gaps. Yeah, so what's this point of view here, here, and here? We're not going to listen together. The skills focus on Schoology, very, very short, 1 minute, 5 seconds. So please pause this video, head over to Schoology, do that, come back, and we will check. So I should have left that like that. Right, so the first negative effect. So bad for health. Yeah, so bad for children's health. Yeah, bad for children's health. So that's the first point here. Vision equals their ability to see. Okay, so that's a definition of the word vision. Yeah, their ability to see. And hand-eye coordination, the ability to react or respond quickly to something that they see. So that's the point here. The ability to react or respond quickly to something they see. Quite a long answer, and there's not enough space here. Yeah. Right, okay, so hopefully we've identified those points. Now let's listen again. How does the lecturer signal these points? Yes, what language does he use to state his opinion, to support his opinion, and to provide the other side? Okay, and you can listen and write those down, and you can add those examples to the table. Yeah, so go ahead and do that. Come back, and we will check together. Okay, and we can see here that we've got a lot of discourse language. Yeah, many critics say that. Yeah, well, we have that already. Others feel, but, okay, so but others feel. Yeah. One concern is that, so that's stating an opinion. This is because, okay, so that's providing reason or evidence. On the other hand, silly thing. Research shows, so that's stating opinion as well. Yeah. So we have a lot of discourse language here, just in a very, very short amount of time. Yes, the audio is just 1 minute. After the introduction, the audio is actually only about 50 seconds. So a lot of discourse language that's very, very useful. Right, okay, so we've done the quiz. We understand some of the vocab that we need for the lecture. We've introduced some negatives and some positives of video games. So now I think we're ready to go ahead and watch the lecture and complete the notes. The better the notes, the easier it will be for us to complete, to answer the questions. Okay, we've got a very basic template. If there's any difficult vocabulary in the template, now is the chance to use your dictionary. Yeah, so concerns, development, intellectual development, any difficult vocab, use your dictionary now before we start watching, because we don't have a lot of time when we watch. Okay. The video you will find in your media album. Your media album looks something like this. Oh, I hate it when it does that. Here is the lecture. And the lecture is about 6 minutes 26 seconds long. Okay. So watch the video, maybe watch it 2 times or maybe even 3 times, yes? Take some notes using this skeleton template. And then come back here and we will talk about the questions and the answers together. Okay, so once you've watched, try to answer the questions. We'll check the answers together. Okay. Okay, so how does the lecturer define media? Media. Different ways we communicate. Okay, different ways we communicate. How does the lecturer define media? Newspapers, television, movies, that's not a definition, those are examples. Yeah? How does the lecturer define media? Define it as different ways we communicate. Different ways we communicate. These are examples, these are not, this is not a definition. What's the main focus of the lecture? So we know it's about video games, but more specifically, what's the more specific focus? Today we'll look at some of that research and talk about some of the effects of video games on the children who play them. Wow, very, very long topic, yeah? The effects of video games on the children who play them. Okay, so a shorter answer, effects of video games on children. Yeah. So we don't need, I mean, today we will look at some. Okay, so that's not really part of your answer, but the answer here, research and the effects of video games on children. Still quite a long answer. What does 87% refer to? 87% of 8 to 17-year-olds in the US play video games. Okay, so 8 to 17-year-olds in the US play video games. So we've got 3 details there. 8 to 17 in the US play video games. How many hours do American children spend playing video games every week? Wow. Let me make that a bit more readable. 13-year-old boys spend an average of 23 hours a week. 13-year-old girls spend about 12 hours a week. Yeah? It's a long time. 23 hours a week. Wow. What are the 2 points of view on how video games affect their social development? Okay, so not intellectual development, that's the second point. Social development. So point of view 1, and they're spending that time alone. They're not spending it with other children. They're not interacting and learning with others. So they say that playing the game is actually antisocial. Yeah? But view number 2, the opposite is true. Playing video games is a social activity. 60% play with friends. So it's not as antisocial. Yes, they're not running in fields, they're not kicking footballs, but they are playing with friends, even if they're doing it through the internet at a distance. And the second view, they're violent, and that playing violent games will teach children to be violent. Well, yes, some video games are violent. They contain a lot of violence, like shooting and fighting. For example, here, Grand Theft Auto. We also know that children who play video games are likely to be aggressive, more likely to argue with their teachers, and more likely to get into fights. Okay, so that's the second viewpoint, yes, that all of this violence is not good for children. But the argument against that is that there's not enough evidence that video games cause aggressive behaviour. Yeah? And this is important. In other words, aggressive children may choose to play violent games. It's not clear that the games make them violent. They might be violent to start with, which is why they enjoy playing these games, but there's no clear evidence that these games make them more aggressive or make them more violent. And that's a very important point. Intellectual development. So they learn. So they learn to concentrate. They don't learn to concentrate on things for very long. Okay, because games are moving so quickly. It's so active. As soon as something a little bit boring happens, they get bored very quickly. Yeah, so that can cause them to develop short attention spans. Critics also say that the games don't allow children to think creatively. Yeah, because they just follow the map of the game. Yeah. Now I'm not really sure that that's true. You know, I mean, I have a 6-year-old son now, and he likes playing Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 3, which is a game I used to play when I was much younger. And there is room for creativity. Yes, it's very prescribed, and there's a map, and you go from World 1 to World 2 to World 3. But there are all of these little kind of Easter eggs where you can find something and you can do things that you weren't aware that you could do. So there is, I think, some room for creativity, at least in some of the games. Critics say that you don't make your own stories, and that can affect their ability to think and learn. Yeah. Some studies have shown that children who play a lot of games have poorer grades in school. The flip side is that video games can help children learn, because they learn when they're being entertained, when they're having fun. Yeah. So the games actually require game players to be creative. If they want to succeed, if they want to beat the bad guy, they need to think a little bit abstractly and get creative with how they play. So when does the lecturer say children learn best? They learn best when they're being entertained. Yeah. And what's the lecturer's conclusion? Video games are not going away. We need to keep creating good video games. Yeah, good, honest, challenging video games. Yeah. Right, this is a topic that's quite close to my heart because, yeah, like I say, my children are just entering the world of video games, and it's quite interesting watching them play and watching them discover all of the places that are kind of hidden that they can. That they understand that they can go to. So yeah, I think video games certainly can be a positive source of entertainment. Right, we're almost finished. There's not much space here for your dictation, so maybe head over to the back of your booklet. You've got a dictation audio on Schoology. What I want you to do is play that audio, 3 minutes 21 seconds, come back here, and I will give you the answers, and then we are finished. Okay, so head over to your course page, play the dictation, write your dictation somewhere, maybe here, maybe at the back of your booklet. Come back and I will give you the answers. Okay, and here are the answers. You can pause this video, of course. Yeah. Spelling is important, punctuation is important. Capitalization at the start is somewhat important, yeah, and a very useful skill, just listening and writing down what we hear. Right guys, well that was this lesson then, all about video games. The next lesson you might be learning about the robot with your instructor, so enjoy that. If you have any comments about this video, please leave your comments in the section below here on YouTube. Okay, see you next time. Bye bye.